Okay, let's talk materials for our banana split. So I'll keep this kind of in the frame so you can see what I'm talking about when I label the materials, or when I name the material. So we will need a 3.5 hook. Y'all know this is my absolute favorite, and I try so many different hooks, but I keep migrating back to this. Like, Mimosa should give me like a sponsorship or like an affiliation or something, like, because I advertise the heck out of that hook. We will need some scissors. So these are mine. We will need a stitch marker, which I have on my brace. We will need yarn needle, and this is going to help us just with sewing all the pieces and stuff together. There are quite a few pieces to sew. You will need some white yarn, and that's going to be for our banana boat and for our whipped cream. So this is, most of my projects are scrap yarn projects, so that's some scrap yarn. You will need some yarn for the banana, obviously more than that, but this is the color I use, and this is what remains of what I have left after this project. You will need 3 different colors for the scoop. Well, maybe not even additional colors. If you choose to use, like I did, like white for the vanilla, you would only need 2 additional colors. But just depending on the colors you want for your scoops, you want to make sure you have those yarn colors. Also, for me, I used a pink, a teal, and a white. I kind of kept it consistent with the theme for this month. You will need red for the cherry. You will also need a dark brown or whatever color you want to make for your drip. So keep that in mind. You will also need some polyfill, definitely more than that, but you will need enough to fill your 2 bananas. You will need enough to fill 3 scoops. So keep that in mind. And I think that is it. Optional, definitely, I always say it in my videos, optional to have the quilting pins, but it's a lifesaver when you're assembling. So when we're putting our drip to our scoop, when we're putting our whipped cream and our cherries on, it might be a bit of a help to have the stitch markers, the quilting pins. If you don't have them, honestly, it's not a deal breaker. Please don't go and buy them. Like, you can definitely do this project without them. If you happen to have them, go ahead and use them. If you choose to put eyes on your scoops, so we are going to recap the ice cream scoops we made for the berry stack, and in those instructions there are options to add eyes. If you are adding the eyes, these were a size, let me cut and figure that out. Of course, it would be the one that I have no more of. I have to pull my other pack out. So these are a size 8 eyes. So if you choose to put eyes on your scoops, these are a size 8. And I think that's it. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty, so let's transition into making our banana. So the banana, this is what our final product will look like. It is actually in 2 different pieces. So the front panel and then the back panel. So I'll show you how to, and they're exactly the same. So let me show you how to do one panel. I'm gonna leave you to your own devices to do the second one, and we'll come back together to put them together. So it's actually really simple. It's technically only 3 rows, but we're working on both sides of the chain. So it's a little bit more than 3 rows, it feels like, but it's true to 3 rows. So what we're gonna do first is chain 41. 1, 2, 3. All right, and I'm going to place my stitch marker just because this kind of helps me gauge where I am when I come back to the end, the other side of the chain. So now what we're going to do is, starting from the second chain from the hook, we are going to do 39 double crochets. After your 39, you should have that last little chain unworked. So I won't bore you with what that looks like. I'll show you a couple of times, but then I'm going to leave you to your own devices. Second chain from the hook is right here. And then come back so that we can transition to the other side together. So literally just 39 double crochets until you get to, and you should end up in that last chain unworked. So do that and meet me back. After 39 double crochets, this is what we're looking like. And it does curl quite a bit, so that's totally fine if yours curls. It'll flatten out once we start crocheting a little bit more, especially on the other side of that chain. But you should have 39 double crochets, and you should have that last one unworked right there. Well, the first chain we made, last one, that's unworked. So in that one, we want to do 3 double crochets in that same stitch. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And what that's going to help us do is just to kind of curve our banana, like this part right here. Let me show you. It's going to curve us right there. And our second row is going to actually give us that little bit of a point. So what we want to do now though is we were working like this. We're going to turn our chain so that we're working on the other side. Okay. And so the way you start this, if you're kind of a beginner and you're just finding my channel, on the other side of your chain, there's like the back side, I guess you would say, the bottom side of a stitch, and you want to go in each one of those, and you just start with the first one. So for me, it's right there. You can see that. Start right there. Actually, we're doing double crochet, sorry. Going into there and completing our double crochet. So that was 1 for me. Yarn over, and I'm going to go into that next little bump right there. That was 2 double crochets into the next little bump, so forth and so on until you get to 39 on this side as well. Okay, so 39 double crochets on this side as well, and you should end up with 1 unworked. And we're going to do the same thing we did with the other side with just 3 double crochets in that same stitch. But I'll come back and I'll show you what to do once I've done my 39. So go ahead and do yours and meet me back. Alright, so I made my 39 double crochets on the other side of my chain, and I'm going to put I'm going to put the 3 double crochets in my last stitch here, and I'm actually going to slip stitch. And that way, because our next row is going to be single crochets, and it just makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more seamless. Now, one disclaimer that I sometimes say in my videos is working on the other side of the chain can be a little bit tricky, especially if you don't start like in that first little bump on the other side of the chain. So my advice is always, like, if you come to the end and you notice that you're like 1 stitch short, like 1 little hole short, you can just force your way in. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. As long as you're not missing like 5, you're off by like 5 or 6 or 10. If you're off by like 1 or 2, you can like definitely make it work, and it won't affect your work that much. But again, once you start getting into like the 5 and 6 and 10s and all that, that trick won't work. But I just know from experience, I don't know what it is. These chains were really difficult for me in the beginning. So if you're in that same boat and you're not accustomed to doing these just yet, that's just a little bit of a hack that I've learned. Some people may disagree with that, and that's fine, but it's just a kind of trick that I learned along the way. So row number 3 of what I'm calling the chain 41 was our row number 1. The 39 double crochets with the 3 double crochets in the last stitch, I'm calling row number 2. Row number 3 is going to be 39 single crochets, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do, because it's a little bit funky, but I'll show you what to do after those 39 single crochets. And so what that's gonna look like is we're finding our first stitch, which for me is right there, and we're doing 39 of these bad boys, and I have to unloop my stitch marker there. So 39 single crochets, and when you get to 39, go ahead and meet me back here. Okay, so after your 39 single crochets, we should look something like this, and we should in theory have 3 stitches right at the center middle of our banana. And so in those 3 stitches, what we're going to do in the first one, we're going to do 1 single crochet. So a single crochet. In that same stitch, a double crochet right next to that single. Like that. In the next stitch, so the stitch right here for me, I'm doing a 3 triple crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And we should look something like that. In the next stitch, so right here for me, I'm doing a double crochet, and then a single crochet. And that's going to give us that little bit of a point that I was talking about. So in our finished banana, it's going to give us that little bit of a point. So on either end of our banana, it kind of looks like that banana shape. And so we're going to keep going. So after that last double crochet and single crochet in that same stitch, we're going to keep going and repeat what we just did. So another 40 single crochet, 39 single crochets, excuse me, another 39 single crochets. We should have 3 stitches left. We're going to do a single crochet and a double crochet in the same stitch, 3 triple crochets, and then a double and a single in the next stitch. And I'll show you what it is. But let me do my 39 and I'll meet you back. All right, so after my additional 39 single crochets, I'm left with those 3 unworked stitches, and we are just going to repeat what we did to the other side. So we're going to do 1 single crochet, a double crochet in that same stitch. In the next stitch, we're doing a triple, 3 triples actually. So 1, 2, and 3. Where's my stitch? Right there. It gets a little crowded, and that's okay. And in the next stitch, our very last stitch, we're doing a double crochet, and then end it off with a single crochet in that same stitch. We can go ahead and fasten this. We'll go into the first stitch, slip stitch, and then fasten off. And my yarn gonna creep up on me. You do want a fairly decent tail for sewing, because that tail is going to help us to sew around our banana. So we have the 2 pieces. This is what my 2 pieces look like, and it's going to be panel number 1 and panel number 2, and we are sewing them together. So you need a pretty decent tail to help you with that process. So let me show you what it looks like when you sew together. So to sew this banana, it's actually really simple. It's just a little bit tricky because we did not, oh sorry, my panel fell. We did not create this in a tube, right? We created this in 2 pieces. So as we sew these 2 pieces together, we're gonna have to stuff them. And finding the right time to stuff is gonna be the trick here. And let me just show you what I'm doing. I'm just lining them up because they're really curly. I'm just lining them up and figuring out the best place to start. For me, I'm going to tuck my ends in just like that. Figure out where my tail is, which is on this one back here. I'm going to thread my needle, and your panel should be exactly the same size, but guess what, if they're not, it's okay, we're going to work with it. All right, so we are going to take the bananas, put the points together just like this, and you are going to sew the innermost stitches. So we're not taking front and back loop, we're actually just going to take the back loop. So front and back loop together looks like that. We're just taking the back loop. So I'm going to go into the next back loop next to that one, and then pull up the back loop on that corresponding stitch on the other side. Just like that. Back loop and back loop. And just try to match them up as best you can with the points of the ends together. So we're just doing back loops. Just like that. And we're doing this all the way down. So I don't start stuffing until I get to the other side. The other side about like maybe right here, because then we have a little bit to stuff. So let me go ahead and sew all the way around, and then I'll meet you back here. So I'm just doing that same process. I'm taking the back loop of one side, finding that corresponding back loop on the other side, and then just pulling my yarn through. And I'm just doing that all the way around until I get to that point I was telling you about. So do that and then meet me back here. Alrighty, so I have sewn up until this point from my banana. And so what I'm gonna do is take my polyfill and apparently one random string of purple, and I'm just gonna start stuffing this. And I want my banana, I mean, fairly firm. I don't want like a rotten banana, but I don't want it too firm to where it's not bendable, because this is, like I was telling you, for the rest of this series. And if you haven't checked out the rest of the series, go ahead and do that. This is our ice cream series for the month of June. My daughter, I lost my train of thought for a second. My daughter is going to play with this the entire content of the series. We've made an ice cream cone, a berry stack cone, and an ice cream sundae. This banana split is just part of that series. And so I want her to be able to like move it around. So with this one, she can like move it and it's kind of pliable. I don't want it stiff to where she won't be able to move it. So firm enough to where it's not like sad, but soft enough to where it's still pliable. And I think that's good for right now. I'm gonna go ahead and sew for about like another, until I get about 3/4 of the way done. Stuff again, sew until I get almost done, like maybe maybe an inch, and then stuff again and close it up. So let me do that process, and then I'll meet you back here to show you the final product. All right, so this is what my banana is looking like after it's all stuffed. I will recommend you make two, only because a banana split usually has like 2 bananas, right? So I would recommend you make two. So I will leave you to your own devices for just a second to go ahead and make those two, and we will start on, let's do the bowl next. The bowl, let's talk the bowl. Let me grab my white yarn here. Okay, so the bowl is kind of similar to the banana that we just did in terms of like rows 1 and 2. The only main difference, honestly, is that we are doing half double crochet. So let's start this guy with 40, a chain of 40. And I'm just gonna do that off camera because, you know, we saw that before. So just chain 41, I'm sorry, chain 41, and then meet me back. All right, I've done my 41 chains. I'm going to place my stitch marker here. And I am going to start in the second chain from the hook. And instead of doing double crochets this time, we're doing half double crochets. So we're looking for the second chain from the hook. For me, that's richer. And we are doing half double crochets. Just like that. And we're doing 39 of these bad boys. So go ahead and do your 39, and you should be left with one unworked chain. And that is exactly what you want. So do your 39, meet me back here, and I'll show you what to do in that last chain. And this is what I'm looking like so far. Again, it's kind of curly. And the last stitch for me is right there. I am going to do 3 half double crochets in that last stitch. So right there, 1, 2, and 3. And so, like I was telling you with a banana, we want to do the same thing. We want to turn our chain. So we were working like this, right? We were going that way, we are now going to turn our work and crochet on the other side of that chain. For my veterans out there, you've done this before. For my newbies or those who are moving from beginner to intermediate, we're going to flip our chain over and we're going to start crocheting in those little, the underside of our of the half double crochets that we just made. So you want to go into that first little loop, and sometimes, I'll be very honest, when I first started doing this crocheting on both sides of the chain, I would always miss the first loop, and it's right here. And you can see that, like, I don't close this hole yet. That's what this tail is for. When you pull it, this hole closes. I would always close my hole first and miss that first loop. So if you need advice and if you are getting stuck all the time like I used to, that's a really good tip to kind of keep in mind. But enough of me rambling. On this side of the chain, we're going to repeat the pattern. So we're doing 39 half double crochets, and that last stitch we're doing 3 half double crochets. So I'm going to do this and I'll meet you back. All right, here's my last stitch. I'm just going to do my last couple half double crochets here. 3 to be exact, 2, and then 3. All right, so the next piece of our pattern is we are doing 41 half double crochets and then an increase, and we're repeating that pattern around. So because I'm not switching from like a half double crochet to a double crochet, I'm not really worried about like joining and chaining one, so I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to do 41 half double crochets and then an increase. So let me go ahead and do the 41, and I'll meet you back here to show you what that increase looks like. This is what I'm looking like. This is my position after 41 half double crochets. Now in this stitch, it should be centered right in the center of our work right now. And we want to do an increase, half double crochet increase, meaning that we want to do 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. Lord help me, what is happening? In that same stitch. So 1 and then 2. And then we're going to repeat the pattern again. So 41 half double crochets, and then we should have 1 stitch left in this row. Do an increase and then meet me back here. Okay, now what we want to do is, now that we're at the end of our row, we want to join and chain 2, because we're going from half double crochets like we did for our rows 1 through 3, and we're transitioning into double crochets. So we want to go ahead, slip stitch, chain 2. I'm going to place my stitch marker here, and we're going to do 1 double crochet all the way around. So go ahead and do that and meet me back here. After this row, which is, what is this, row number 4 for us? 1, 2, yeah, row number 4. This is what we should be looking like. And I want to go ahead and connect my first row to my last row with the slip stitch, chain 2. And then, oh, that was an ugly connect. Hold on. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me connect this properly. There we go. All right. So for row number 5, we are doing same thing, double crochets all the way around, but we're doing back loop only. And if you see my channel before, you know we do explore front loops and back loops. It's really not that scary. I'll explain it again just briefly for those of you who are very, very new to my channel. So when you're looking at a stitch, there are 2 little loops, right? There's a front loop and a back loop. Front loop is the one literally in the front, right there. Back loop is the one in the back, right there. And what we want to do is back loop only for this project. So we are doing crochet, double crochets in the back loop only, and that's going to leave our front loop unworked. So we're going in the back loops only, and this may look a little familiar because remember when we did our ice cream cone, for those of you who are following along with the series, we did our front loop only, and then we went and worked into the back loop when we did our ice cream. And we're actually going to do that again today, but fun stuff. So what we are doing essentially, let me get one that I've completed already. What we've done already is the base of our bowl. What we're doing now is we are creating that little lip so that our bowl stands up. So this is my front loops that were unworked for the one that I made already, and that's kind of where we are right now, so that our bowl kind of sits up like that. Yeah, so just as a point of reference, that's what it's gonna look like. So go ahead and do your row number 5. Actually, you can do rows 5 through 7. So for row number 5, we're doing back loops only. And let me show you on the worked one. Row number 5, we're doing back loops only. And then you're just going to continue with row 6, and row 7 with just double crochets in each stitch. So let me repeat that. Row number 5, which is the row we're currently on, is going to be back loop only. That's going to be this one right here, and it's going to leave you with a little bit of unworked stitches, the front loops. You're going to continue with row number 6, row number 7 with one double crochet in each stitch, going in both the front and the back. So just like normal. Don't worry about front loop, back loop for row number 6 and 7. So go ahead and do that. Meet me back here. So I went ahead and finished my bowl. I did fasten off, and I hid my tail in my work so that we're looking like this. And if you just want to kind of play around to see what we're looking like, we can take our 2 bananas and we can put them in there to see what we're looking like so far. And it's looking pretty darn cute, if you ask me. That's what we're looking like so far. So now we just need to put the ice creams on top. And I do have some ice cream that I made already. I haven't weaved my ends in just yet for one of them, but actually I have 3 of them, but I'll show you these 2 for right now. So this is what we're kind of gonna look like. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut our current video. I'm gonna go and pull some footage from the previous series that we had to show you how to do the ice cream scoop. I think it's actually this color. So I'm gonna show you how to do the ice cream scoop. I will show you how to do the chocolate drip. I will show you how to do the cherry, and then I'll meet you back to present day to do the whipped cream topping for you, and I think honestly will be done. So let's go back in time to our previous, I think this was the berry cone actually that we were creating. Keep in mind, if you want to add eyes to this thing, when I take you back in time, it's going to show you how to do the eyes, but for this project obviously I didn't put any on mine, but you definitely could. That can be an alteration, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's go ahead and cut, and I will meet you back here once we have learned how to do the scoop, the drip, and the cherry. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with a magic circle. And if you are brand new and you're just finding my channel, I do have tutorials on how to do a magic circle. If you just go ahead and I'll probably drop the link at the bottom so that you can see it. But we're doing a magic circle, and in our magic circle we're doing 6 single crochets. So I did 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We need to close this hole, place our stitch marker. Row number 2 is going to be an increase all the way around, and I do crochet over my tails. If you watched my channel before, you kind of know that already, but we are doing increases all the way around, meaning we are doing 2 single crochets in each stitch. For my veterans out there, you know this all too well, but for my beginners, it just means 2 single crochets in each stitch. So we're going to do this all the way around. You should end up with 12 single crochets at the end, and I'll show you what to do afterwards. Alrighty, row number 3 is 1 single crochet and then an increase, 1 single crochet and then an increase, which again is those 2 single crochets in one stitch, 1 single crochet and then increase in that next stitch, and we are doing that all the way around. All right, and that is my row number 3. That's what we're looking like so far. And just as a point of reference, so you can kind of visualize what we're doing, when we did the ice cream cone, we started from the tip and we worked our way up. So we started right here and we worked our way up to the top. For the ice cream cone, we're actually starting at the top and working our way down. Kind of the same concept, but it's a little bit different. So right now we are at, what was that, row number 3. So right now we are about right here in this ice cream cone, but this is what it's going to look like when we're done. So just as a point of reference. Okay, so for row number 4, we are doing 4 single crochets. Nope, I'm sorry. Row number 4, 2 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, and then an increase. 2 single crochets and then an increase all the way around, and I'll meet you back here. Row number 5 is going to be 3 single crochets and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. And we're doing that all the way around. Alrighty, rows 6, 7, and 8, we are doing 1 single crochet in each stitch. So for 3 rows, go ahead and do 1 single crochet in each stitch, and you should have 30 at the end of each one of these rows. So go ahead and do that and then meet me back here. Row number 9 is going to be 3 single crochets and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. And we're doing that all the way around. Okay, so this is what we're looking like after 9 rows. And so again, as a point of reference, we've just done the crown of our scoop right now. So we're about right here. What we are going to do now is the fluff, the bottom of our ice cream scoop, which is this part right here. In order to do that, this next row, row number 10, we are working in front loop only. What that means is when you look at a stitch, there is a front loop, which is this, and there is a back loop, which in that same stitch is that, okay? The entire stitch is right here. We want to go front loop only for row number 10. So front loop only. And we are doing 4 single crochets in 1 stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. So what that looks like is in that front loop, we are doing 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3, and 4, and then we're going into our next stitch, front loop only, and we are doing a slip stitch. I'll show you one more time. Next stitch, front loop only, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It will get crowded, and that's by design. Next stitch, front loop only, slip stitch. And so this is what we're looking like. It should be frilly because we want it to wave. We want it to wave like this. Okay, so it will get crowded, and that's again on purpose. So go ahead and do your front loops only. And it's very important you do front loops only because in row number 11, we are working in the back loop. So if you don't leave your back loops, you don't have anything to work in. So make sure you do front loops only, and I'll meet you back here for row number 11. After row number 10, this is what I'm looking like. The inside looks something like this, and you can see there's like a ring around the inside, and those are our back loops. That's what we're going to crochet into for row number 11. So again, as a point of reference, we just did this right here, which is the bottom of our cone, or our scoop, sorry. And now we're going to start transitioning into the inside. Okay, so for row number 11, we are looking for those back loops, and we are doing 1 single crochet in each stitch. So what I like to do is just pull this kind of frill forward, and you can see the back loops show up really nicely. So this is a back loop, that's a back loop, this is a back loop, that's a back loop. You want to go into those, and so I'll show you a couple. Let me find my first one here. So I'm going to go in, back loop, and just do a single crochet into the back loop, single crochet, and we're just doing that all the way around. Back loops. And if you went into your front loops in row number 10, this should be a piece of cake. Like, your back loops should be pretty darn visible. So go ahead and do this, and I will meet you back here so we can do row number 12 together. All right, so after row number 11, excuse me, this is what we're looking like. So we have our frill, is what I'm calling it, and we have an additional row in that back loop only. At the end of row number 11, which is that back loop only that we just did, you should have 24 stitches. So if you just want to kind of double check that you did it correctly according to the pattern, you should have 24. All right, so moving on, row number 12, we are going to do 2 single crochets and then a decrease, and this should be a piece of cake for us. So we're going to find that first crochet in the last row, and we are going to start there. So 1, 2, and we are doing a decrease, and we're just going to do that all the way around. So let me show you one more time. 1, 2, and then a decrease all the way around. Row number 13. Row number 13 is going to be 1 single crochet and then a decrease. 1 single crochet and then a decrease, and we're doing that all the way around. Okay, so now what we want to do is add some eyes to this guy, because this is going to be an amigurumi scoop. So I'm going to grab my size 8, and this is my container. My size 8 lives right here. So get my size 8, and I'm going to place my eyes between rows 4 and 5 in stitches 1 and 6. And I kind of already marked them. You can kind of see it right here, but I'll show you how to get there. So we're looking at our magic circle. That's going to count as row number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So between rows 4 and 5, we will place our first eye. Our second eye is going to be in stitch number 6, which means I am looking at the stitch that this first eye is in. I'm counting as stitch number 1. I'm counting to stitch number 6 and placing my second eye. So that's 1 that our first eye is in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then about right here, about 6. We're going to put that in. And this is what it looks like. What I'm going to do now off camera is pop the backs in for my eyes. I will stuff this guy and then meet you back here so we can do next steps. Alright, so this is what we're looking like. And we do have a hole in the bottom. So we are going to close this hole by threading our yarn needle. And we will go into every other stitch to pull this thing closed. Let me show you what I mean. So we're going into every other stitch. We're going into this stitch, out through this stitch. in this stitch, out this stitch, and we're doing that all the way around until we get to the beginning. And once we get to the beginning, you can just go ahead and pull it close. And it pulls close like magic. And make sure your stuffing doesn't come out. Just like that. Now, usually I do another round of closure, but this is going to be stacked, so I'm really not concerned about it. So I'll just leave it alone and just go ahead and knot it. And this is what we're looking like. All right, so for the drip, it is simple. It's a little bit on the tedious side, but it is super simple. So let's go ahead and walk through this. We're gonna start with a magic circle. Inside of our magic circle, we are putting 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, just like we did before. Nothing new. We are actually going to do an increase. It's kind of the same process as we did in the bowl. The only difference is we're doing single crochets instead of half double crochets. So row number 2 is going to be a row of increases. And I'm moving kind of quickly just because we pretty much did this already. So row of increases. Row number 3 is going to be 1 single crochet and then an increase. So 1 single crochet and then an increase. 1 single crochet and then an increase. Row 4 is going to be 2 single crochets and then an increase. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then an increase. And we're doing that all the way around. All right, so after row number 4, this is what you're looking like. Row number 5 is where things get interesting. So if we pull up the drip that I've already done, rows number 1 through 4 is going to be right there, that center. So row number 5 is where we're actually going to start making the drips. So we are going to start with 2 single crochets. 1, 2. We are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And starting in the second chain from the hook, we are going to put 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and then 3. We're going to go into the next stitch. For me, that's right here. And into the next 3. So for a total of 4. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. We are chaining 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starting in the second chain from the hook, we are going to crochet in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Uh-oh. Next, we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So let's find the next one. 1, 2. We are chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. Second chain from the hook, and then two stitches. 1, 2. We are then going into the next 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the second chain from the hook, we are going to single crochet in the 3 stitches in that chain. 1, 2, 3. We are then gonna go into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We are then going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Second chain from the hook, and in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then in the next 4 stitches, we're single crocheting. 1, 2, 3, 4, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Starting the second chain from the hook, we are going to single crochet in the 2 stitches in that chain. Next, we are going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. We are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting in the second chain from the hook, we are going to single crochet in the 3 stitches in that chain, and then after this you're just going to single crochet in the remaining stitches, and that is it. We all done. So go ahead and fasten off. You do want to leave a decent tail for sewing, and this is what our drip looks like. Looks kind of crazy, right? Okay, so we're going to take that drip and our quilting pins, and what I want to do is take the quilting pin, put it through the magic circle of the drip, just like that, and I'm going to slide that other end of the pin into the magic circle of my scoop, so it looks like this. And what you can do now is just take your yarn needle, go ahead and thread it, thread it with that tail that we had, and you are just going to attach the drip to your ice cream scoop. And the way you're going to do that is go into your drip, and you're going to find a stitch in your scoop, go in 1 stitch, come out another stitch, just like that. You're going to go into your drip, into a stitch, and then come out another stitch. Go into your scoop, in 1 stitch, out another stitch, and then do the same thing over again. So into a stitch, and then come out of a stitch, or come out of a stitch and go into a stitch. And we're just doing that all the way through each one of our drips, and I'll show you a couple more times just kind of what it looks like. If you've never done this before, if you're one of my veterans, then you've done this, just have at it. Ow, I just poked myself with the pin. Ouch. Is by getting some red yarn. We are not crocheting this, we're just gonna do a little pom-pom. So I'm gonna take my 2 fingers and just wrap some yarn around my 2 fingers here, just like this, just so that we get a decent little amount. Like, there's no exact science to this. I'm gonna slide this off of my fingers, take a tail of yarn, and I want to just tie this like so, so that we can just tie this together. And this is just going to make sure that the yarn doesn't come undone. Just tie that as much as you can, like as tight as you can. Take your scissors and you're just gonna cut around. And this is just a very simple pom-pom. Just cut it all the way, all those little loops you want to cut like this. Okay, and it's gonna look a little crazy right now. It looks more like a starburst than it does a pom-pom right now, and that's okay. So this is significantly bigger than what we need, right? We don't want a starburst on top of our ice cream cone. We want an actual cherry. So what we're gonna do is just cut this thing down quite a bit. And usually I do this over my trash can, but for the sake of showing you, I'm just gonna do it right here. Be careful to hold that tail so you don't cut it. If you cut it, it's not the end of the world, but you're gonna have to reattach so that you can sew your cherry to your ice cream cone. So I'm literally just cutting this down to the size that I want it. The more you cut, the fuller it looks. So kind of keep that in mind. Depending on how big you want your cherry, you cut away. Go ahead and snip away. And I'm just moving the cherry around as I cut so that it's even on all sides. But I want my cherry kind of small. So I'm gonna kind of keep cutting here. Alright, I think that's good for me, and I have literally fluff everywhere. Let me grab my trash can really quick. Okay, so this, Lord help me. This is what my cherry is looking like. I probably can clean it up just a little bit more, but that's what my cherry is looking like. And on top, that's what it looks like. All right, so we are back in present day. Well, I mean, depending on when you're watching this video, present enough. So the only thing we have left to do is the whipped cream. And let's just take quick inventory of what we have, or what I have over here. So let's disassemble this. So I have my bowl, which we created together. I have my 2 bananas, which we also created. Well, we created one of them together, and I created the other one on my own as I was kind of playing around with the pattern and such. And I have my 3 ice cream scoops. So I should have prompted you in my other video to make 3 scoops. And so these are what mine look like. So right now what you should have is your scoop, and you should have chocolate drip that's already attached. Your cherry shouldn't be attached. If you did, that's fine, but we should have a cherry, and you should be waiting on me right now to do the whipped cream. So let me show you how to do the whipped cream. So the whipped cream is really simple. It's a little bit on the crowded side because we want it to wave. We want my cherry look a little scraggly. I need to fix that. But we want it to wave. So the way you get that effect is by making your work really, really crowded, because when you make your work crowded, your stitches have nowhere to go, and so they start stacking on top of each other, which gives you that wave effect. So what we want to do is chain 11. We don't need a whole lot, so chain 11. And starting in the second chain from the hook, we're going to do 4 single crochets in each stitch. Again, it's intended to be very, very crowded. So don't worry when it starts curling on you. Don't worry when it starts like getting in the way. That's exactly what you want to make the effect of whipped cream. So second chain from the hook, we are going to go ahead and put 4 single crochets. That's 2, 3, and 4. Go to the next stitch and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're doing that all the way down till we get to our last stitch. So let me do mine and I'll meet you back here. Alright, so this is what I'm looking like, and again, it's supposed to be really crowded. So I've put the last 4 single crochets in my last stitch, and what I like to do, you don't necessarily have to do this, but what I like to do is just go ahead and slip stitch somewhere on that first stitch. Doesn't necessarily have to be on the chain, but I just want to join these things together so that's easier to sew. Just like that. And then I'm just going to cut, leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. You don't need an obnoxiously long tail, but just a tail. And that's what we should be looking like right now. There should be a little bit of a hole in the center, right? So what I'm going to do is cut this little tail from our chain. And I actually took the whipped cream and the cherry off one of my scoops. You're welcome. So that I can show you how to attach this thing. And I lost my yarn needle. Where'd it go? There it is. So what I'm doing is I will attach the whipped cream first. So I'm just threading my yarn needle behind the scenes. You couldn't see that. And I'm just placing my whipped cream on top of my scoop just like this. And it's okay, that hole right there, it's okay, because when we get our cherry is actually going to cover that hole. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. I know it looks a little bit crazy right now, but it won't, I promise. So what I like to do is just sew, and it doesn't have to be pretty. That's the beauty of using that cherry. Like, I just like to go on the inside and then just kind of sew around. So I'm just picking up a stitch in the whipped cream and then picking up a stitch in that brown, and then just going all the way around. Like, it doesn't have to be rocket science, like, and it doesn't have to necessarily be pretty either, because folks won't see this part. So I'm just gonna go all the way around on the inside. Again, I'm just taking, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing, I'm just taking a stitch in my whipped cream and then just pulling it through the drip until I get all the way around, just being careful not to pull up any of the fluff. So just pulling up a stitch in the white, and then a little bit of the drip. And you could do it from the outside, I guess, in theory, but it just may not be as clean looking. I honestly haven't tried it that way, but again, crocheting, amigurumi, like crafting, is all about creativity. So if you find an easier way to do this, I mean, go for it. Share it in the comments. I'm always down to learn new things. I'm always down to talk with our textile community about, you know, different ways you do stuff, because the saying is there's more than one way to skin a cat, but I always feel bad for the cat. But there's always more than one way to do things. Just because I'm teaching you the way I do it doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way to do it, right? So I'm gonna cut that because we're done. And this is what we're looking like. So I just kind of fluff it up a little bit. That tail needs to be cut too. Make sure you weave yours in. I don't think I did for mine, but you know, I think we'll be fine. Okay, and I knew I pulled up one of the fluffs. That's okay. All right, again, because this is not rocket science, like that won't even be shown, and it'll be captured when I put my cherry in there, so I'm not really worried about that. So this is what we're looking like so far. It looks really messy on the inside, but again, that is fine. So I'm gonna pull up some red. So when I taught you how to do the cherry, I actually told you to make sure you don't cut your tails, right? Well, I cut mine because I took it off of my already assembled scoop to show you how to do this. So this is actually a really good you know, trick if you actually did cut your tail and you were wondering how to reattach. So what I do is just get a fairly, you know, decent tail, yarn it through my yarn needle, and then I'm gonna put my cherry facing up and just go through. So remember when we made our cherry, we wrapped the yarn around our finger. So in our cherry somewhere there should be an entry point for us to stick our yarn through. You just got to figure out which way everything is facing. So I was able to get through right here, so that means that our yarn, it was wrapped this way. So we just want to find where the yarn was wrapped, stick our yarn needle through, and what that does is it creates an anchor point for us. So now you have 2 new tails. And what I'm gonna do is just get this crazy looking center. I will stick my needle in one end, come up through the other end. It doesn't have to be precise, I promise. I'm gonna stick it through, take the other end of my tail, and I'm just gonna tie it. Making sure to get my fluff out the way, and I'm just going to tie it. Reposition as needed. I do want my cherry to be kind of to the side, so I'm not positioning too much because it actually felt kind of perfect. And I'm just going to tie a couple of times and then hide my tails. And honestly, y'all, that is it. That is it. It's like stupid simple. So that is what we're looking like, and my cherry's looking mangy again. I need to fix that. But that is what we're looking like. Let me go ahead and hide my tails and then show you next steps. We have our bowl, or boot, whatever you want to call it. We have our banana number 1. We have our banana number 2. And I just kind of bend mine a little bit because I want the tips of my banana to be hanging out. Fixing my bowl. Just like that. I have my scoop number 1, my scoop number 2, because this one I chose not to put a drip on, so I used a little bit of creative freedoms, and then my last scoop, and there we have it. There's your banana split. So what can you do with this project? How can you make it your own? Like, what can you do? So as I've said in multiple other videos or tutorials in this series, this is for my daughter. I made this series with the intention of my daughter playing with it. So what that means is that she is going to take this thing apart, she's going to put it back together, she's going to mix, she's going to match, she's going to feed her dolls, like all kinds of stuff. So I do not want to attach my pieces. If you want to attach your pieces, I would recommend 2 options. One option is to sew everything together. It'd be really cool if you sew like the banana to the bottom of the bowl and then sew the sides of the banana, like the sides of the bowl to the banana like this, so it doesn't move. And then maybe even sew your bananas together so that they are stable, and then make sure you attach your scoops to the bananas. So that's one option. The other option I think is a little bit more cool, so you can disassemble and put together, is actually, and it's easier, to put Velcro. I didn't have Velcro. I was just going to show you how to do it. I thought I had another roll, but I used it for another project. But you can put a strip of Velcro, excuse me, on each side of your bananas. You can put Velcro on the bottoms of your scoops to make it stick to the bananas. That would be absolutely beautiful for playtime. So that is something that you definitely can explore. Obviously change the colors of the scoops. You can change the color of the cherries, the drip, the bowl, whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat. I made it funny. But thank you so much for joining me, not only for this tutorial, but for this entire series. We made some really cool stuff, including this really cute berry stack cone. We made an ice cream cone. We made an ice cream sundae. We made a lot of cool stuff, a lot of colorful stuff. Thank you so much for rocking out with me for this entire series. Don't forget to chime in for our next series in July. It's a secret, so you got to make sure you tune in next week to identify what we are making, because I'm keeping it under wraps until you join me next week. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you stay up on information that's out there. Our world is getting a little bit crazy. I want to make sure you and your families are safe, and you can't do that if you don't know what's going on. So make sure you stay up on the information, crochet some cool stuff, and meet me back here next week. Bye guys.